In the neon-soaked pantheon of the 1980s, one name stood at the crossroads of mainstream curiosity and underground legend, P.J. Sparxx. To the million viewers who fueled the VHS boom, she was a magnetic cult icon with a gaze that seemed to challenge the camera itself. But while the industry remembers her as a digital ghost of the golden age, the records reveal a story that the legends got entirely wrong. This wasn't just a career, it was a quiet earthquake that hit the industry, and the woman behind the persona was someone Hollywood never truly understood. When I began researching the lost icons of the 1980s, I expected to find a typical tabloid tragedy. Instead, I found Laura Marie Sparxx, a girl born in the literal shadow of the dream machine in Northridge, California. The surface problem, we've been told, is one of sudden fame and a faster exit. But the deeper reality, it's a story of a woman navigating a parallel world of cinema while nearly crossing over into the Hollywood mainstream. Today, we're going beyond the screen to uncover the human resilience behind the 80s most enigmatic cult figure. To understand the rise of P.J. Sparxx, we have to zoom out to the cultural lightning rod that was 1980s California. This was an era where the boundary between alternative and mainstream was beginning to blur. But while traditional Hollywood was focused on high-concept blockbusters, a new, unfiltered industry was exploding in the San Fernando Valley. Therefore, for a young woman growing up in the heart of the industry, the path to stardom didn't always lead to a walk on the Sunset Strip sometimes. It led to the high-stakes world of the VHS revolution. Born Laura Marie Sparxx on Valentine's Day in 1969, she was a true product of her environment. Records show a normal upbringing in Northridge, yet she was surrounded by the very mechanics of fame. In the mid-80s, while her peers were eyeing entry-level jobs, Laura found herself at a crossroads. I discovered that she didn't just stumble into the spotlight. She entered an industry that was rapidly professionalizing, moving from the gritty 70s into the sleek, high production values of the 80s golden age. Before we dive into the hidden details of her career, I want to hear from you. Many of you grew up during this theatrical and VHS transition. An 80s cult performance first introduced you to this era of cinema history. Let's share some history in the comments. The major reveal in Laura's journey happened when she fully embraced the persona of P.J. Sparxx. It was a name that would soon become cultural shorthand for a specific kind of 80s magnetism. She wasn't just another performer. She was a trailblazer who treated her work with a level of professionalism that caught the eye of mainstream scouts. But if you don't understand this next detail, the final act of her life makes no sense. Here is a detail that 80% of fans often overlook. P.J. Sparxx was closer to mainstream Hollywood stardom than many realize. IMDb records confirm she made uncredited appearances in landmark 80s films like Coming to America and Caddyshack 2. Imagine she was standing on the same sets as Eddie Murphy and Chevy Chase, while simultaneously becoming the face of an entire alternative genre. She was pocketing thousands for her work, but she was living a dual life that few in either world could bridge. Why did she never fully cross that bridge? To understand that, we have to look at the human cost of being an icon. The industry often devours its own, and as the 80s turned into the 90s, the golden age began to fade. P.J. Sparxx struggled with the internal pressure of maintaining a persona that didn't always match the woman from Northridge. She wasn't a perfect star. She was a human being navigating a high-pressure industry that offered little in the way of a safety net. Her impact, however, remains undeniable. She helped redefine the girl-next-door archetype for a generation of nostalgia-driven viewers. But the tragedy lies in the timing. On 24 May 1999, at the age of just 30, Laura Marie Sparxx passed away. The news sent shockwaves through the community of collectors and historians. In an era before social media, her story was largely buried, left for future historians to rediscover and piece together. Today we look at P.J. Sparxx not just as a VHS ghost, but as a legitimate figure in cinema history. Her legacy is one of resilience, a woman who carved out a unique space in a stigmatized industry and left an indelible mark on 80s pop culture. She remains a trailblazer whose work is now being preserved by a new generation of film historians who recognize the artistic ambition behind the labels. Laura Marie Sparxx was more than a screen name. She was a daughter, a professional, and a legend who defied the conventions of her time. Her story reminds us that behind every icon is a person whose untold story is far more complex than the credits on a tape. She was the face of an era, but her humanity is what truly endures. PJ Sparxx was one of many who bridged the gap between two very different Hollywoods, but she wasn't the only icon whose mainstream crossovers and tragic endings left the industry questioning what might have been. To see how another 80s legend walked a similar, even more scandalous path, click here to watch the untold story of the girl who fooled an entire industry.